Welcome to the Confidence in You podcast with Helen Luxford, where we help you build your confidence and create positive change in your life. And here's your host, Helen Luxford.
Hi, and welcome back, and thanks for joining me again on the podcast. Today, I want to talk a little bit about self-care and the importance of self-care. Recently, I had a medical event, an episode, you might call it, and it was a big wake-up call for me, just recognising that I haven't been exercising enough self-care for myself. So I thought today I would share a little bit about the importance of self-care with you. A lot of women in particular, men do also experience it, but women in particular feel that if we take the time out for ourselves, it's being selfish. Well, I'm here to tell you today, it's not. It most definitely isn't. Taking time out for yourself and having a little me time and exercising self-care is vitally important to you and to those close to you in your life. Because if we can't look after ourselves and put ourselves first, our needs first, how are we meant to look after others? If we're not recharging ourselves, if we're not filling up our own cup, if we're not nurturing and nourishing ourselves, how are we going to be at our best to care for and give to others? And all too often, we try to give from an empty cup. And whilst it's noble, it's not always effective. And for me, recently, I was taking on too much. I was taking on a lot for my work, for my family. It was just too much. So exercising self-care and setting some boundaries is a really important part of looking after yourself and building your confidence, because when you're low, when you're depleted, you're not able to see things clearly. Your mind is not able to process and to function normally. And then we start to beat ourselves up because we're not making good decisions, but we're not making good decisions because we haven't fed our brain. We haven't fed our body. We haven't fed our soul. We haven't allowed ourselves time to do physical activity. All of these things contribute to us not being at our best, not performing at our best. So today I want to talk about self-care and being kind to yourself and letting yourself feel the feels when you're in that slump and in that low place, but not getting stuck in there, not wallowing in it, but feeling the feels. And when you're in a better space, you can reflect on that and make a plan so that next time you see that coming or you're in a similar situation, you will be able to respond differently. If you're a parent or you're caring for a loved one, whether that be a sibling, a friend, a grandparent, whoever it might be, a child, it doesn't matter, you're probably juggling a lot of things. You're juggling your stuff, you're juggling their stuff, you're trying to do the right thing by everybody, you're probably missing out on doing social things with your family or your friends. There'll be something that you're giving up at the moment to put someone else's needs first. And if you're putting everyone else's needs ahead of your own, you're not in a boat by yourself, because we're all there or we've all been there in the past. So taking some time to stop, reflect and become aware that you're doing that is the first step. And for me, that was a really big awakening recently, that I was putting everyone else's needs ahead of my own. And it ended up with me having a short stint in hospital, which wasn't great. But anyway, I'm okay now. So taking some time for yourself is vitally important to refresh, replenish, reboot and reconnect with you and those around you. So take a moment now to consider what's happening for you. Are you fully charged and running well and doing great, or are you a little bit depleted and you need to make some time to replenish? And if you're feeling in those states sometimes, do you make time to fill up your cup, to fill up your bucket? Or are you letting your bucket dry up? Or worse still, as in my case recently, has your bucket developed a crack that you're trying to fill, but it's hard to refill because everything just keeps pouring out of that crack. And it might even have a hole in the bottom of it. So everything that you're trying to put back in just falls through. Reflection and understanding where you're at is the first step. And with awareness comes choice. So now that you're aware of where you're at, of the state that you're in, of a habit it might even be that you do always put other people first, or that you hadn't noticed before, and now you're having time to stop and think about, wow, I really do that. And it's okay. There's nothing to be ashamed of helping others and wanting to help them. But you need to put yourself first. So now that you're aware of this situation, you have a choice to do something different. And so I'm now going to give you some tips to help you do something different. Because if you don't look after yourself, no one else will. If you don't put your oxygen mask first on in the plane, you can't help others, and you may not survive, and therefore you're not doing anyone any favours. So buckle up. Here's 5 tips to help you consciously practice self-care in this current chaotic, busy world. Number 1, use language to your best advantage. Challenge your inner critic, that little voice inside your head that pops up with that negative self-talk. Just challenge it. Be aware of that person inside your mind. Are they helping or hindering you? Your self-talk is the most powerful thing you have in your toolkit. So every day for the next 7 days, observe that little inner dialogue that's going on for you. Be mindful of how you think and how that makes you feel. Check yourself. Are you building yourself up or are you pulling yourself down? Are you thinking positively or are you thinking negatively? And whatever you've got going on inside your mind, that inner dialogue, would you say or use those words that you're thinking about yourself to a close friend or someone you love? If you're having that negative self-talk, catch yourself and rephrase what you're saying. Here's some common things that I've heard people say to me. The negative thoughts inside of my head, I'm stupid. So replace that with, oops, that didn't work, but look what I've learnt from it. Next time I'll do things differently. Another one is, it's no use trying, I'm a failure, I never succeed at anything. Rephrase that with, I can do this just one step at a time. Don't look too far ahead, one step at a time. If you catch that inner voice saying don't or you shouldn't, replace it with, I like it when and will achieve more if. And if you hear yourself saying, well, that won't work, think about, well, have I considered? Whatever other negative thoughts that you've got going on, catch them and rephrase them to the positive. Because change the way you look at things and the things you look at change. The next one is pay attention to what you eat and how it makes you feel. We touched on this in a previous episode. Some foods fuel us and some slow us down. Comfort food is okay occasionally as we need to reset and feel the feels, but eating junk food every day isn't helping you in the long run. So are you fueling your body appropriately? Are you eating enough food in general, or are you skipping meals because you're too busy or you just don't feel like eating? Dr. Michael Mosley cites the importance of good bacteria in our microbiome, our gut health. And it's important that the food we put into our body is fueling us. It feeds our body to be able to physically move, but it also has a major impact on how we think and feel. Our gut health is really important. And about 95% of our serotonin is produced in our gastrointestinal tract, which means what we eat can and does affect our mood. Serotonin in our body helps us sleep better, moderates our appetite, and affects how we feel. Have you thought about how you've been feeling lately and whether what you've been fueling your body with is impacting your mood? Next time you're a bit not quite right, have a look back at what you've been eating and see if there's any correlation between what you've been fueling your body with and how you're feeling. The next tip is to make time for yourself. Create some me space, some me time. So block out 30 minutes each day and do something that lifts your spirits, that makes you smile, that makes you happy, that fills your cup. Make time for yourself, just you, by yourself. It might be going for a walk, it might be having a bath, might be cooking yourself a nice breakfast, going and having a coffee, making a yummy lunch, doing a crossword, Sudoku, reading a book, whatever it is for you. Carve out some not negotiable me time in your day. Ideally 30 minutes, but if you can't make 30, do 10 or 15, do a quick meditation, do something that makes you re-energize and reset. And if you're in a relationship, Discuss this with your partner and make sure that you're both aware of when you've carved out your 30-minute me time break. It might be that you share the chores, or someone does the morning run and someone does the afternoon run with the school, or whatever it is for you. But just make those living with you aware that your 30-minute time break is just for you. Once you get into a routine of having your short me time break, it's something that you will find so valuable and so re-energizing, and notice how much more effective you are in all other areas of your life when you prioritize and make some time for yourself. It is so important to do something each day just for you. The next tip is to start writing down things in the evenings or just before you go to bed. So you can write down anything that might have been on your mind for the day that you're still carrying with you. So things that you want to do tomorrow, put it in your phone or write on a piece of paper. Get it out of your mind and on a piece of paper so that when you go to bed, you can relax because that thought is not there. Also, if you've been carrying around any negative self-talk or self-doubt about anything, write that down as well. Just write it down. Don't judge it. Write it down. And the next day, get that piece of paper or get that note off your phone and have a look at it with fresh eyes, with different eyes. Because sometimes when we're in the moment, things can seem a lot more daunting than what they actually are. Also, if you can write down with a handwritten pen, the act of writing with a pen is also very cathartic, and it can help you look back at patterns of handwriting and how you were feeling when you were writing things and identify any trends that might be triggering you. So just getting those thoughts out of your mind for the day before you go to bed, or any negative self-talk or any negative self-doubt, get it out, write it down, and then review it a day or two later and see if you still feel the same way as you did in the moment when you captured the thought, because chances are you probably won't. Our next tip is about creating a good bedtime routine. Anyone who's been around children or who's had children will know that routine is really important, and that's because neurologically we get used to doing things in a certain way at a certain time, and our brain kicks in and knows that that's what's going to happen in that environment. So create a good bedtime routine for yourself. Ideally, turn your phone off when you go to bed, or better still, leave it in another room. Cut back on caffeine in the afternoons and evenings so that your body has time to just release any caffeine that you've had in the morning. And create a nighttime routine where you allow yourself some time for your mind to just relax, let go, and drift off into sleep. This could be reading, it could be meditating, it could be simple stretching exercises, listening to sleep stories, or a short meditation before you drift off into sleep. It could be having a shower and winding down, whatever works for you, but create the same routine and do it as much as you can. And keep that nighttime routine and form a habit of how you plan for and relax before you get into bed. Thank you again for joining me today, and I hope you practice some of these hints and tips, and I'd love to hear how you got on. Stay tuned for the next episode, dropping soon.
And thank you for listening to the Confidence in You podcast. Follow Helen on Instagram, HelenLuxford100, on Facebook, Helen Luxford Coaching and Hypnosis, and on YouTube, Helen Luxford. And access more free resources on Helen's website, www.helenluxford.com. Music, Sunbeam by purpleplanet.com.